Greetings Internet, Political Shrimp here. I was blown away by the response to my video on Malema in the EFF. None of my other videos even come close on views. However, I'm not here to gloat. I'm here to talk about LGBT rights. The struggle for equality is a never-ending fight within the system of liberalism. From the civil rights movements of the 1960s to the movements for women's suffrage, the right of equality is not simply granted by the powers that be, but earned through struggle. Members of the LGBT community, myself included, understand this very well. The idea of the government not only making no effort to suppress gay rights, but actively promoting it in a tangible way is a foreign concept to most in today's world. However, this wasn't always the case. The struggle for LGBT rights was just as prevalent during the Cold War as it is today. Many might be surprised to learn that the nations of the Eastern Bloc often ranked higher in LGBT rights than their Western counterparts. The socialist states of Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia decriminalized homosexuality in the mid-1960s, followed soon after by socialist East Germany in 1968, 1 year earlier than it was legalized in capitalist West Germany in 1969. For the record, the United States did not fully decriminalize homosexuality until 2003. For the sake of this video, we'll be focusing on East Germany. However, much of what we will talk about is applicable across the Eastern Bloc. None of this is meant to insinuate that socialist countries have a perfect track record with gay rights. They don't. However, socialist countries do have a much better track record of taking on board the concerns of their citizens and being open to progressive change. In the GDR, the push for LGBT rights was led by members of the LGBT community themselves. The repealing of the more than 100-year-old anti-homosexuality laws, dating back to the Prussian Empire, is widely accredited to Dr. Rudolf Klemmer, an openly gay communist physician. This change was part of a greater overhaul of the East German criminal code, focused on increasing civil liberties and decreasing political repression. The divorce rate in East Germany was among the highest in the world at the time, nearly 50%. Canadian researcher Jim Stakely described the public perception of this divorce rate, quote, "GDR citizens properly interpret the divorce rate as an index of women's emancipation rather than an indication of societal collapse." In the GDR, women had just as much right to push for divorce as men did during a time when divorce was heavily discouraged in the West. On the topic of marriage, gay Germans had a right to be married, divorced, and to adopt children just the same as a straight couple. Members of the LGBT community were also encouraged to create their own organizations for the advancement of their rights. Many such gay clubs were formed and recognized by the state, the most popular of which was the Berlin Sunday Club, created in the late 1970s. Representatives of this group regularly attended meetings of the Communist Party on the subject of gay rights, and often spoke at these meetings to inform the party members of the desires of the LGBT community. In 1984, the first official committee of a German university to study the social and economic conditions faced by gay and lesbian Germans was founded. At the time, the committee estimated that East Germany was home to 750,000 gay or lesbian Germans. In the mid-1980s, the Communist Party of Germany sponsored a widespread media campaign intended to combat discrimination against gay and trans Germans. This media campaign was spread across many mediums, including newspapers, magazines, scientific research, films, and more. In 1984, the popular health magazine Your Health began to publish reader-submitted letters on homosexuality and gender identity. Other major publications followed soon after. Over 200 articles on homosexuality were published in major media sources during the 1980s. According to an article written by Leslie Feinberg, what is indisputable is that in 1985, a historically unprecedented state-sponsored campaign set out to eradicate all forms of discrimination based on sexual and emotional preference and to raise social consciousness about same-sex love. When the AIDS epidemic hit East Germany, state publications made no attempt to link homosexuality with the transmission of AIDS. The television health program Visite ran a report in September of 1987 that described homosexuality as an entirely natural variation of human sexuality. In 1988, the state-run broadcast group, DIFA, worked with gay rights activists to produce the documentary The Other Love, meant to bolster public understanding of the challenges faced by the LGBT community. Another group that was elevated to equality during this time period were transsexuals. Even today, 40 years later, the right of transsexuals to simply exist within society is still up for debate. In East Germany, transsexuals could get married, divorced, and adopt children. Trans mothers were given priority in the care of their children, same as cis mothers. In the months before German reunification, an article titled "Will German Reunification Hurt Transsexual Rights?" was published in East German newspapers. Quote from the article: "As it stands now in East Germany, men and women 18 years and older have been able to receive government-sponsored sex reassignment surgery, get married, and adopt children. According to Professor Gorlich of East Germany, who spoke at a meeting on the subject in Hamburg, in 2 cases a transsexual mother gained custody of her adopted children after divorce. This shows that transsexual rights in East Germany were not simply printed on paper, but realized in practice." The modern socialist movement is undeniably tied to the movement for LGBT liberation. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." To all the gay, bi, ace, and trans people out there, the challenges ahead are momentous, but you will never face them alone. As long as there are socialists left waving the red banner, you will have friends by your side. We stand together in celebration and in struggle. Good night, everyone.